Hello, everyone. This is your girl, Fame with Tiffany Renee. I am Tiffany Renee, also known as the Golden Seat Life. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you are notified every time I come out with a new video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. If you've been here before, thanks for stopping by again. I appreciate you. Thank you all for your wonderful likes, shares, and your beautiful comments. And if anything that I talk about resonates with you, bless. I am so happy to hear that. And thank you all for your support. If you want an intuitive session with yours truly, click the link in the description box below. I also have a brand new sale that is starting today, and it is called the Golden Sweet Deal. I'm gonna change the title, sure, because right now it's called the Golden Seat Deal, but it will be called the Golden Sweet Deal, and you can get 15 minutes of a session talking about anything you want, and I will give you your energetic reading, I guess you could call it. $10, period. That's it. $10, you get a 15-minute session with me. So click the link in the description box below. Okay, so today I want to talk about something that I don't hear a whole lot of people talk about because it is viewed as a limiting belief, or it's viewed usually as something that's not ideal to talk about. And that is wanting what you want, having a desire for something or for a circumstance or for an experience, but being terrified of it actually coming into fruition. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Like, I want my desires, but I'm scared to get it. I'm scared to have it. I feel uncomfortable with wanting it. Okay. It is super bright here. It's super sunny outside. The blinds are open, and we got this natural sunlight coming in. So we're just gonna roll with it. Okay. It's bright. We're just gonna go with it. Okay. So when I talk about desires, we all have them. And this is my personal perspective, disclaimer, okay? Feel free to disagree. Okay, everyone has their own perception, so I don't expect everyone to view and interpret things the way I interpret things. So that's totally fine. I'm just giving you my interpretation of my own personal experience here. I believe that desires are a good thing. I believe that we desire what we want because somewhere on some timeline, some version of us already is experiencing it or already did experience it. I believe that they are gifts and they are part of our life experience here. We're here to experience an array of things to have a full human experience, for our soul to have a full human experience. And desires are part of that experience. So there are times when there are things that I wanted, whether it was materialistic things, nice place to live, nice car, or, maybe that bomb body, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Loving relationship. And then there's things that I wanted internally for myself. More confidence. I wanted more, a better sense of self and all these things. Wanted to be able to love myself unconditionally as is, in all the transitions that this body was to go through. And all of these desires, I believed during the course of my journey and understanding metaphysics and quantum physics and all of that, I understand that you already have everything anyway. I understand that. I understand that creation is finished and that anything in our imagination that we can see ourselves doing, we're seeing it because a version of us already has it or is already doing that thing. And while I understand this, there are still times it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better because I understand that I have it anyway energetically. But there are definitely times when I like, okay, I know I can have and be and do whatever I want. I know I can have certain experiences. I know I can have, my world look a certain way. So why doesn't it? Why are some areas in my life, why does it appear to be stuck? Knowing what I know about this universe, about this reality, what's the problem? What's the hindrance here? What's the hold up? Okay. And I'm going to take you guys back a few years pre-pandemic, maybe a year or so before the pandemic. And I was in therapy. I decided to go back to therapy. And I will talk about that in my next video when I talk about how living in the victim state affected me in my life. So that'll be in the next video. But I decided to go to therapy. And one of the questions that my therapist asked me, because she was wonderful, she was lovely, she asked me really profound questions all the time. That's probably one of the reasons why I loved her, because she challenged me to think. And she would just ask me a certain question, and I would be like, and it would be quite transformative. I would have all these aha moments. But she did ask me one question in terms of my desires. And she said, why is it escaping me now? She pretty much was like, I noticed that you say things. Every week you come back with some new information and you say something. And I just want to know, why do you feel like you always have to look on the outside of you for all of your answers? And that stumped me a little bit. And I told her, I think it's because I don't trust myself. And I think I'm afraid of failure. And she said, I don't think you're afraid of failing. I think you're afraid of succeeding. When I tell you all, that was a huge light bulb moment. It was like, eureka. Okay? Because I didn't want to admit to myself that that's what it was. I was like, she's right. I had this feeling, but I didn't know what to call it. And I've just mentioned this just to a couple of people, over the years, that I think the fear and what's held me back so much is not the fear of failing. Because I don't have a problem. I can laugh at myself. I can do like whatever. Like, I don't have a problem with that. So what is it? And I kept going back to what my therapist said. I think you're afraid of succeeding. You don't trust yourself, and you're afraid of actually getting what it is that you're striving for. And I was like, that's crazy, but why? If that's true, why? What am I afraid of? Why would I be afraid of getting the thing that I want? And after a lot of pondering, I was like, oh, holy crap, I think it's come down to one thing: worthiness. Sometimes we want what we want, and that's okay. And we might put in a bunch of work to get it, right? And we're like, man, I'm working hard. Why is it not happening? Or why is it not happening the way I want it to happen? Because we have a psychological glass ceiling that we put on ourselves. And for me, I found that glass ceiling that I put on myself, that limit of what I can or cannot have, or what I can and cannot experience, or what my life can and cannot be, is based off of how valuable I think that I am, how worthy I think I am to actually have those things. Because it scared me. And what was the fear? For me, it was, okay, I don't deserve that. Maybe I don't really deserve to have this amazing life that I want. Because remember that time when I was 11 and I did that thing and it was really bad? Or that time when I, you know, said this to an adult? Or that time when I failed that test, or I didn't do that great in college, or I feel like I was just a disappointment to my parents, and all these things would start running through my head. And it was like, okay, well, you're not a worthy person. You're not worthy of having all of this additional stuff. You're only worthy of having this much. And you have to stay within these parameters because that's all you're worthy of having. And then, because I felt so unworthy, right? The self-sabotaging, all of that, I started viewing myself through my own lenses as an unworthy person. I operated from a place of unworthiness. And so when I would desire something, I would have all of this back and forth with my ego, trying to convince me how I don't deserve to have it. Or if you get it, you're just going to have more problems. If you become, well-known, if you become a well-known author, if you become a well-known speaker, or if you become a great artist and people want to buy your work, or if you do this, if you become this, if you're able to do this, if you're able to have the type of influence that you want to have, and if you're able to help a lot of people, or if you're able to, build up the community, if you're able to do all these different things, then you may be put on a pedestal. And then you're going to open yourself up for even more criticism. People are going to see who you really are. People are going to know that you're not perfect. People are going to know about your dark past. People are going to know about your traumatic childhood. People are going to know. People are going to stop hanging around you because you're going to be doing well and they're not going to like that. You're going to lose friends. Everyone's going to be wanting to come to you for help. You're not going to be able to trust anybody. Like, all of these things compounded in my psyche. And it started to scare me. And it was like, you only know what it's like to be a victim. You only know what it's like to be mediocre. You only know what it's like to always be in survival mode. You only know what it's like to struggle. You don't know what it's like to live a lavish, opulent, abundant life. You don't know what that feels like because you've never done it before. How scary is that? You don't know what you're going to look like. You might turn into a complete jerk once you get to the status that you want. People may not like you. You may not like yourself even more than you already don't like yourself. Like, all of these outrageous, intrusive thoughts, whispering, okay? And I know it was my ego, because the ego is there for self-preservation. The ego does not like to change, because in order for me to decide to push through those barriers, to decide that I am deserving, I am worthy, I am just as worthy as the next person, and they're just as worthy as me. In order for me to push through all of those obstacles, those psychological, those crippling, psychological, intrusive, false beliefs that were created about myself based on my personal life experiences. I created that. In order for me to push through that, I would have to change, and it would have to be a radical change. And the ego ain't interested in that. Like I talked about in my previous videos, the ego is interested in familiarity. It's interested in what it can predict. It's interested in what it can expect. And your life is built off of that. And it did not want to change. So I started experiencing fear and panic. Anytime I would, let's say I entered a contest or something and I would win, or if I would receive an accolade at work or anything like that, anything that would put the spotlight on me, that would appear that there was some sort of elevation in my status, I started to get scared. I started to slightly freak out. Anxiety would start coming up, because then it was like, oh my God, now there's pressure to make sure that I always stay where I'm at. There's this pressure that I'm not allowed to falter. I have to keep building and building and building. I have to keep building on this, because now people are expecting me to keep doing well. And it was just all this unnecessary pressure that I would put on myself, which just added more fear. So it was like, okay, well, it's safer to just kind of fly under the radar. It's safe to just be mediocre, because that way people don't expect too much from me, and I don't have to risk disappointing anybody if I don't meet that expectation. So I have big dreams, if you hadn't noticed. If you watch my channel, you know I love abundance. I love concerts. I love celebrities. I love art. I love all these delicious things. It did not happen for me until 2019 when I just was like, I want to go to concerts. I know what I've been told. I know what I've been believing since 1999 about concerts, right? It took me 20 years to break the belief that I was just as deserving to be in the same room as a celebrity as anybody else. Like, they're just regular people. Like, it took me 20 years to break that glass ceiling of, I can be in the front row. Why can't I? Because I believed that I couldn't. It was a strong desire, but it was a desire that for me was so far out of reach that it was like a pipe dream. It was that far out of reach for me. It was like, there's no way. Be in the front row, get backstage, what? Actually meet these people and have conversations with them and take pictures with them and have them remember me and maybe see them again? Absolutely not. That doesn't happen to people like me. That's what my ego is telling me. Nothing but fear. I was hit with a barrage of mental fear. Because it's like, okay, so let's say you do get in the front row, or you do get backstage, and you're just going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to embarrass yourself. You've never been in that situation before. What are you going to do? You're just going to be bumbling over your words. They're going to think you're an idiot. Like, again, ego telling me everything to keep me here. So I wouldn't even dare to continue dreaming about more for myself. In 2019, again, 20 years later, I was like, I'm done. I want to be in the front row. I'm going to start looking at front row seats, because law of attraction says I can do or have anything I want. Okay, make it happen. I went to bed at 4 o'clock that morning. Like, I was adamant. Like, no, I'm done looking for nosebleed. I'm done defining myself as only somebody who is allowed to be in the nosebleed. Like, I'm done living the version of me who thinks that she's not worthy or capable or deserving of having the full concert experience that she wants to have. I'm done being that version of me. Swipe. I'm swiping. Swipe left. I'm done. Introduce the new version of me that knows that she's already that person. I decided that. I went to sleep on affirmation saying, I'm done. It's done. It's done. It's done. I'm there. It's done. It's done. I'm there. I'm there. And I fell asleep at 4 o'clock in the morning. The concert started at like 7:30, 8 o'clock that night. That night, I went to the venue. I had a regular seat. It was not on the floor. It was like the first level. And something told me, just ask if they have any front row seats, because they had to end up moving my original seat. And I asked if they had front row. They were sold out at first. When I asked, they were like, oh yeah, they just opened up a couple of more front row seats. And I asked for F1 row 1 seat 28. I got F1 row 1 seat 29. Okay. That was the first time I ever purchased my own front row ticket in maybe 2 or 3 years. I purchased one because it was like super, super cheap for a 90s block party concert. If you were there, you know. And I was placed in the front row because I was helping with the Black Expo. So I was able to be like in the front row at one of their shows. But it had been several years. So those were the only 2 times I was ever in the front row. I decided after those 2 times, I want to be in front row all the time. It took me an additional couple of years to break through that belief that I couldn't do it. And then I manifested it. And I manifested the seat right next to the seat that I wanted. And I wasn't working. I didn't have to do nothing. I just literally decided I am now this person. Period. And I bought my own front row seat, and it was glorious. And I gifted my seat to another person who was there by herself at the concert. I just gave it to her. Because my seat was a pretty good seat that I already bought. But I ended up in the front row. And I had the best experience. Everything that I said that I wanted happened. I got serenaded. I got everything. It all happened. But because I was able to shatter those intrusive thoughts, that fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen if you get it? I'll tell you what happened when I got it the first time. I'm going to tell you what happened. I've been on a roll ever since. You could look at my YouTube channel. Like, you've seen all my manifestation success stories about concerts, me being in the front row, me getting backstage. Meet and greets would be canceled. Meet and greets that people paid for would be canceled. But they would still see me. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I decided that if I have a desire to have these incredible concert experiences, I'm going to have them. I'm going to have them. And I'm going to start by deciding that I'm that girl. I'm the front row, I'm the concert queen. Period. So, fearing your desire, it comes from not feeling worthy of it in the first place. And it comes from fear of not having it before. You don't know what's going to happen once you get it. Once you reach that pinnacle of success that you want. You don't know who you're going to be. You don't know what the world around you is going to be. It's unknown territory. And that can be frightening. So sometimes we deliberately self-sabotage just to avoid the potential, not even the guarantee, but the potential that we could have a fall from grace, that we can flop, that we could fail, or that we may not know how to function once we've gotten there. It's the whole, should I really be careful what I wish for because I just might get it? Or it's the, let me be careful what I wish for because I just might get it. Do you see what I mean? It's about perspective. You're always going to get what you want. You get what you think about. You get what you vibrate. You get what you're emanating, or whether you like it or not. That's just how life works. You get what you're conscious of being. As Tom Caron always says, you get what you are conscious of being. If you are conscious of only being someone who is mediocre, and you've convinced yourself to be comfortable with mediocre, you've convinced yourself, your ego has done such a good job of convincing you that mediocre is good. We don't need to go no higher. We don't need any more than that. You will do everything and anything to preserve your mediocrity. You will stunt your own growth. You will stunt your own rise in consciousness, and your own rise in your status. This is just something that we do. It's a self-preservation mechanism that the ego uses. But everything that we have in this experience, all the conveniences, all the luxuries, they came from people who dared to challenge that voice. These things that did not exist in the 3D, this phone did not exist in the 3D until someone imagined it and dared to believe that it was possible to make into a 3D contraption. It was already created in their imagination, and they were given the means for it to formulate into something tangible because they had a desire and they were not afraid of that desire. They embraced it, they welcomed it, and they said, okay, now watch me execute it. I fail 100 times, great. That means it's going to work on time 101. You couldn't convince them that what they had in their mind, that their desire was not going to come into fruition. You couldn't convince them that it wasn't going to happen. They would put themselves in danger. They would face death. They would face criticism. They would face being thrown into an asylum because people thought they were crazy. They didn't care. They were like, watch my dream, watch my desire come into fruition. And I love it. I love that. I get so inspired when I see people just go for it. Like, this is what I desire and I'm going to have it. They're not afraid, or they push past that fear because their intuition comes in, their higher self comes in, their true spirit, their I amness kicks in like, wait a minute, you already have everything anyway. What makes you think that you're not worthy or deserving? What makes you think you need to fear what it is that your soul even came here to experience in the first place? What makes you think you need to fear what's already been given to you? You only desire it because you already have it and you're ready to experience it. I really had to switch my beliefs. I had to change my perspective. And I was like, okay, you can't be scared of what it is that you want to experience because you'll never experience it. Because your fear will always get in the way. You can't be afraid to succeed because that fear will always get in the way. So I've been learning. I'm not going to say I've completely mastered it yet, but I'm in the process of getting better and better at pushing through the fear of a lot of my desires, the fear of actually having it, the fear of achieving it, the fear of experiencing it. There's nothing to fear. It's there for me. It's there for me. So if there's anyone out there who has big dreams and you're afraid to even dare dream that big, it makes you uncomfortable because it feels unnatural. That's just your ego trying to convince you to stay where you are so it doesn't have to change. Because not only are you worthy of your desires and deserving of your desires, you already own your desires. They're yours. It already exists within you. Energetically, you already have it. A version of you on some other timeline already has it. That's why you desire it. You couldn't possibly imagine anything that you want if you didn't already have it. On some timeline, you already own it. It's yours. You're experiencing it. So I hope this video made sense. I feel like it was kind of a little bit all over the place, but I just wanted to talk about it because I listened to this amazing I'm subscribed to his channel. His name is Edward Art, and he was talking about his own battle with being afraid of his own desires, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. I need to make a video about that because I've been afraid of my desires a lot, and I still have certain desires that I'm afraid of because I'm just afraid of achieving it. I'm afraid of getting it. It's like, oh my God, what if I actually get what I want? Then what? What if I actually get what I want? Like, what if I actually become that thing that I've been working so hard to become? What if I actually do get the notoriety that I want? What if I actually become famous? oh my God, how am I going to function? Am I going to be able to handle it? Am I going to be okay? Is my world going to fall apart? Am I going to lose all my friends? Am I going to lose the dominant dynamic with my family? Am I going to lose myself? All these things. And each time I'd be like, no, I'm ready for this. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm more than ready. I'm equipped. I'm well equipped for this. I'm well equipped to handle any and all of my desires. I am well equipped to handle all of my desires. I am ready to receive all of my desires. I can do it. I can handle it. If I couldn't handle it, they wouldn't be my desires. I wouldn't be able to conjure it up. Right? So you got this. Love your desires, appreciate them, burst through the fear because you're deserving of them, you're worthy of them because they are yours. They're yours. You got this. We got this. Okay? Let's go and bring our desires into fruition so we can be living our best lives. Okay? That's all for this video. Thank you for sticking around for these 31 minutes. I appreciate you. Again, like, share, subscribe. Click the link in the description box if you want to work with me. 15 minutes for $10 up until February 16th. Love you all. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video.